Welcome everyone, I'm Kingway Valence, and thanks for watching this ultimate Spore Pitiful Worm challenge. Today, we are going to try to beat Spore with absolutely nothing on our creature. After all the Pitiful Worm challenges we've done with only a mouth on our creature, we are now taking the final step and seeing if we can beat Spore with no parts at all. Maxis never intended for us to ever use a creature like this, and Spore won't normally allow us to save this creation, as at least one mouth is the minimum for a valid creature. However, using Cheat Engine, we can force Spore to allow us to save, and finally play as the ultimate Pitiful Worm. Starting from the beginning of Spore in cell stage, and we can bring our completely blank cell into the tide pool. But unfortunately, we can't eat anything without a mouth in cell stage, and eating is the only way to gain DNA and progress in cell stage. So maybe Maxis was right insisting we needed a mouth, but this was expected from our previous Mouthless Only challenge, where we could have any parts we wanted except a mouth. So Cell Stage won't work with this absolutely nothing creature either. However, Creature Stage and Tribal Stage are a much more interesting story. Beating Cell Stage like normal, but before leaving the tide pool, we can once again recreate our ultimate Pitiful Worm before we head into Creature Stage. Moving into the early creature editor, and from here, we are only a tube with nothing on us. We're ignoring this entire list of parts here, we don't need any of it. Spore is still insisting we need a mouth in order to play Creature Stage. But once again, we can use Cheat Engine to force Spore to save, and now we can find out if we can pass the rest of Spore from here with absolutely no parts on our creature. Starting up Creature Stage, and we are in the dark without any eyes. All we can do is slither around, and we have no creature abilities for this stage. Without a mouth or anything else on our creature, we don't get any social abilities, no combat abilities, and no other innate creature abilities, except for calling a mate in the very center, so at least we have something there. But let's just see if calling a mate even works. Oh. No, the game crashed. Not even mating works. But let's try that again. I actually wasn't expecting that to crash. Okay, we're back, and trying the mating call again, and it didn't crash this time. That may have just been a fluke, but clicking it still doesn't even call out to a mate. At least it didn't crash this time, but we truly have no built-in creature abilities. And speaking of crashes, since we don't have any social abilities, attempting to socialize with another creature is impossible without having any abilities. Spore will immediately crash when interacting with another creature when we don't have Sing or any other ability. Same is also true without any combat abilities. Trying to fight with another creature without any combat abilities will also cause Spore to crash. So we can't socialize and we can't fight. Does this mean there's no way to gain DNA points in Creature Stage? Don't worry, we've always had one ace in the hole strategy for these kinds of challenge runs. That's always come through for us. I'm of course talking about eating eggs. Eating an egg is worth 25 DNA points, and is a completely renewable resource, and we've beaten Creature Stage before almost entirely on eggs. Surely this will work here again. Eggs never fail me. Oh, here we go, there's an egg. Just gotta eat the egg. And I said, just eat the egg. Oh no, eating eggs doesn't work here either. Eating eggs is actually possible without a mouth, but it requires strike instead. But without any combat abilities here, the eggs aren't crackable for the 25 DNA points inside. But interestingly, just thinking about attacking the egg still makes these creatures angry, and they still attack us. But without any parts, we can't fight, socialize, or even eat eggs. What else is there to do? We only have one thing left to try, the Summon Flock ability. If we can't fight ourselves, maybe we can call in someone who can. There we go, we got some good normal creatures in our flock. Oh, but we still have to initiate the socialization, and without any social abilities, that will crash the game. No matter, we can fight these creatures. Summon Flock, I command you to fight. Yes, you. Attack that guy. Oh wait, you still need me to attack first? No, that'll crash also. We have all of this firepower and we can't direct it anywhere. Will the Summon Flock also not work? Has this ultimate Pitiful Worm challenge finally bested us? Can we not do anything with no parts at all? No, I refuse to let Spore win. Maybe if I was attacked, the Summon Flock creatures will automatically defend me? Here are some angry creatures, maybe they'll attack. Let's get right in their face and look like an easy target for them. Yeah, attack me. I can't do anything. There they go, and the summoned flock creatures come to my aid, and they kill the creature for me. And that counted, and we got some DNA. Yes, this might actually be possible. We just need someone else to attack us first. This is actually a huge relief, because I was worried that if we didn't contribute to the attack, it wouldn't give us credit for the kill. Sometimes when pack mates kill a creature entirely themselves, or even if they just manage to land the final blow, the kill isn't counted. This happens fairly often in the speedrun and is something to be careful of. But since we won't be able to help the Summoned Flock at all, I was worried their kills wouldn't count either. But thankfully, it appears that all Summoned Flock kills will count for us. Oh, but now all these creatures are scared and running away. Even if we could catch up to them, we can't direct the flock to attack them anymore. So we can only get one creature per nest? Let's just try another one. Here's an angry nest. Can they attack me too? There we go. And we got the credit for this creature too. Oh, but now they're scared again as well. Oh, but wait, there's an egg. Remember, we can't eat the egg, but we did see it made them angry just for thinking about attacking the egg. And pretending to attack the egg is enough for them to get angry to attack us again. There's another attack, and our flock defends us, and no, so close. The flock just ran out of time before finishing them off. But this is promising. Let's try that again. The other creatures take a really long time to attack us, and the flock creatures are only on the clock for 2 minutes, with a 6-minute cooldown. We don't have a lot of time with the flock, and sometimes the angry creatures will just stare at us and take forever to actually attack. But thankfully they eventually did attack, and our flock will defend us, and we took out all 4 nosy boy creatures, and we got the extinction after almost an hour. What we need are some extra angry creatures that won't take as long to attack us. Occasionally, there are small rogue packs that are always fully aggressive, and allowing them to attack us and calling our flock in for assistance, and we can take them down slowly as well. We still need to be careful though. We need them to attack us first, but we don't have very much health. But we got through them all, and we made it to our first evolution marker. Using the summon flock became a slow but viable strategy to defeat the other creatures. We need to find another angry nest, wait for them to attack us, and hope the flock defends us. And this time they attacked the flock members themselves and not us. But the flock still defended themselves, and we still got credit for the kills. Getting 2 kills during one summoned flock was huge. Yes, this is that slow. I'd only hoped to get at least 1 kill per summoned flock. Returning back to the nest with a new flock ready to go again, and these creatures are still scared, so we need to attack the egg to get them angry again. Eventually, one of these 3 angry creatures will attack us, and they'll meet their doom. And there they go, another 2 creatures fell into our trap, and our flock members finished them off for another extinction. And later, we even got 3 bat boy creatures in one go for another extinction. This is looking like it'll be a cakewalk. Nothing can stop us now, and we even made it to the next evolution point. However, this worked well for the early part of creature stage, where the rival creatures are pretty weak. But as we get further into creature stage, our flock creatures are completely outmatched. Our flock creatures are generally pretty weak, and they weren't supposed to carry us all the way through creature stage. Here at the Lord Catmondo nest, and they completely wiped out our flock creatures before they could get a single kill. This might be the end of the line for this strategy. We had a good run, making it about 1/3 of the way through creature stage. But no, I still refuse to let Spore win. This must be possible. We need to upgrade our summoned flock creatures. These are some of the default flock creatures we get, and they're all pretty weak. However, the flock creatures are not limited to just these default creatures only. Spore will sometimes use our custom-made creations for flock creatures as well. But not just any creatures can be chosen to be in the flock. The flock creatures must have wings and fall into the NPC level 1 combat role from the Creature Archetypes. But any creature that fits these requirements can be summoned to be in the flock. So we can make the most powerful creature possible that still follows these rules to hopefully help us possibly finish the rest of creature stage. And I made this creature with level 3 social and combat abilities, as that's the highest level that flock creatures are allowed to have. I've also put in a bunch of copies of these creatures into the Sporepedia, so these creatures are more likely to get picked from the available pool. Returning back to creature stage, and there's our custom flock creatures. Now we can try that again with the Lord Catmondo nest, wait for them to attack, and now we got much more powerful flock creatures to defend us. They even have spit now, and the flock creatures took them down no problem. This challenge is still a go. Now hopefully we can get carried by these more powerful flock creatures to the end of creature stage. That's 2 down, and 3, 4, and 5 down for another extinction. Another important note for the custom flock creatures is that each creature can only be summoned once per game, which is also why we needed to put in a bunch of copies. The first crew we got was flock creature number 4, and now we have flock creature number 5. The order it chooses appears to be random, but once we use up all of our copies, Spore will only use the default flock creatures again. But we can't just delete the flock creatures from the Sporepedia and drop them in again with their PNGs, but they need to be deleted from the Sporepedia and dropped in fresh once we use them all during creature stage. From here, it was a lot of rinse and repeat to slowly whittle down the other nests, still just hoping for at least 1 kill at a time. Eventually, to save my sanity, I did start running the game sped up a little to try attempts faster, but it's the same challenge since everyone else, including the rival creatures, and my hunger bar is also sped up. Hunger became a pretty big issue without a mouth and no other movement parts. Since we can't eat anything, this really limited how far we could travel before starving to death. And interestingly, when starving without a mouth, we get the carnivore thought bubble. I saw a bit of confusion about this part last time during our mouthless run. Turns out we always get the carnivore thought bubble regardless of any previous diet we had before we removed our mouth. And also interesting, something I didn't realize last time, is our starving tribe members also have the carnivore thought bubble without a mouth as well. But even with the speed up help, this was still painfully slow. One of the longest and tedious creature stage challenges I've ever attempted. All just to finally know if creature stage is possible without any parts on our creature. I don't think this would have been possible without the custom flock creatures carrying us throughout the entire stage. In waiting for the flock to take down the last creature, and that's finally creature stage complete after almost 3.5 hours in real time, but much longer including the speed up time in-game. But we're not done yet. Can tribal stage be beaten without any parts? Or will that just be a completely buggy mess? Starting up tribal stage, and we can already spot an interesting issue. They aren't holding any mallets to build the main hut with, and the chieftain doesn't have their staff. Wait a sec, let's go back to the creature stage ending cutscene for a second. Yeah, the creature isn't holding a stick, or get their staff here either. Normally they'd make their staff during this cutscene, and they'd bring it with them into tribal stage. But starting tribal stage, and no one is holding anything in these cutscenes. And past the cutscene in gameplay, our chieftain doesn't have their staff here either. Well, hopefully this not being able to hold anything doesn't become a problem later. We still start with 15 food, so we can get some babies. But can we get any other food? Without a mouth, we still don't have a diet, so we might not be able to gather anything. Yeah, we can't gather any fruit, but maybe we can try gathering some meat? But can we even attack these creatures? Hey, it's our summon flock creatures from earlier. We must have still had some left over from creature stage. Here comes our guys. And the 2 regular members can't attack at all. But at least the game doesn't crash. And here comes the chieftain, and the chieftain can attack these creatures. Even without a staff or anything, we can still deal some damage to these creatures. But unfortunately, we still can't collect the meat either. But that was also expected from our mouthless run as well. However, we still have a few other methods to collect food that worked without a mouth, so maybe they'll work here. Our biggest source of food without a mouth was from fishing, since even though we don't have a diet, collecting seaweed was still considered neutral enough to not need a specific diet. So surely we can still fish here, right? What? The game crashes. Maybe that was just a fluke again. No, it crashed again. Alright, 3rd time's the charm. No, still crashes. Okay, so maybe fishing doesn't want to work today. But what if we use the flying fish to get the seaweed onto the shoreline and pick it up easier? Maybe the act of fishing isn't working, but we can still get the fish. Let's call up the sea monster to splash up some seaweed for us. There's the food. Now we just need to collect it. They get their plate and they're stuck. They're stuck in an animation loop and can't pick up the seaweed. This didn't happen during the mouthless run either. What's the difference this time? It seems that even though we didn't have a mouth last time, we did have arms and graspers, which could make up for us not having a mouth. This makes sense, as when normal creatures have hands and mouths, they'll first use their hands to hold things, but when they don't have hands, they'll use their mouths instead. So when we didn't have a mouth before, we still had hands, which they could still use instead. But here, without hands or mouths, they have no way to hold or pick anything up. So this ends up crashing the game when trying to fish, or they get stuck trying to pick up the seaweed. And the same thing happens when trying to collect eggs from the nests as well. They're just completely stuck. So if we can't get any more food, travel might not be possible. We can't afford any instruments, and with only our pitiful chieftain able to fight, we won't be able to destroy the other tribes. There's still one more thing I can think of. Maybe collecting domesticated eggs can work. Might as well give it a try. Looks like we can still give the dog treat to these creatures, and the chieftain just puts it down? Chieftain, I think you dropped the biscuit. How are you going to give it to them? Oh, you're just going to teleport it right to them, of course. Why didn't I think of that? And that still works. We domesticated one of our flock creatures, and they're in the pen cooking up some eggs for us. This takes a bit for them to make some eggs, and our chieftain wanted to eat some of the food we have left. But it looks like they get stuck here as well. They're just swaying back and forth, stuck in an animation loop. Well, I guess you don't have to eat. You'll respawn for free anyway. And if we can't get any more food, then it won't really matter. That looks like the domesticated eggs are ready. Can we get those? Oh, weird. The chieftain is still stuck in the swaying animation, even after leaving the food pile. I'm sure it's nothing, but can we get the eggs? No, you're stuck here too, but in this strange animation loop. How about someone else not in the swaying loop give it a try? Oh, they got the egg potter. They left it behind. They just think they're carrying it. Maybe they'll teleport it like the dog treat? Yes! We can collect the domesticated eggs without a mouth, hands, or any parts at all. This is a promising sign that we can beat tribal stage. And since the eggs are our only food source, I found 2 more flock creatures to add to the pen, so now we've got an even faster rate of egg production. And the other members can collect enough food to buy some instruments. Well, hopefully they can hold the instruments. Okay, they're adding the didgeridoos to the character list, so even though they don't appear to actually be holding anything, maybe Spore will still treat them as performers. Hopefully. Alright, we got our traveling band, and we can perform for even more flock creatures. We really did overload the Sporepedia with these guys. Now we just need to assemble the ensemble, and no, the chieftain is still stuck. No, we're so close, just get the music going. Oh, looks like they won't play. So is performing not possible either? But maybe if the chieftain wasn't stuck in this sway mode, maybe it would have worked. Maybe the chieftain just needs to be reset. And by reset, I mean we're going to starve the chieftain to death to get a new one. We can't just dismiss a tribe member like vehicles from Civilization stage. We'll have to wait for them to completely starve and come back again. But we can try to keep the other members alive by letting them eat right in front of our chieftain while the chieftain starves. But sometimes trying to get the other members to eat lock them into the swaying animation as well. It seems the tribe members can get stuck in this animation loop very easily. So now my entire band is stuck in the animation loop. So it looks like we'll have to reset the entire tribe. I kept one tribe member alive so we wouldn't officially lose tribal stage, but I got all new tribe members and sent them right to getting their instruments. Thankfully they can get their instruments no problem, and they're still moving like normal. Now we're back at Brown Tribe, this time with a fresh band, and now the performance works. No one's stuck in sway mode, and everyone can perform. So tribal stage also looks possible, as long as we are very careful to keep the tribe members from getting stuck. To make this tribal stage easier, I'm going to do the progression canceling trick where we save during the ally sequence, so when we reload the game, we won't unlock any more instruments, so we can go straight to allying the next tribe. Reloading the game, and aw man, everyone's stuck in the slaying animation again. They finished their performance, but now they're all stuck. Looks like these guys will need to be reset again. Thankfully we didn't use the entire band. There was still one more new member we left back home that didn't become stuck, that can still perform for us. With one band member and the chieftain performing to one rival member in isolation, that should still ally the tribe on easy difficulty. Except while the other performer is ready to go, the chieftain is still stuck, and the chieftain needs to be ready to conduct the band, right? Well actually, the chieftain is not technically required to be in the performance. With the chieftain and our band member selected, we can use a chieftain ability to distract the chieftain so they won't need to conduct the performance. Selecting the flying fish ability, then immediately selecting the other tribe member to start the performance, and the chieftain will be distracted by calling the sea monster and not need to get into position to conduct the performance. And we can have our one tribe member playing all by themselves. And the chieftain doesn't need to be right next to us either. The chieftain can be anywhere, and this distraction trick will work. This is really useful in the speedrun to have two distant groups of performers start performing right after each other without needing to wait for the chieftain to walk to the next group. And somehow doing the flying fish ability broke the chieftain out of their trance, and they're available to begin the second performance. So maybe successfully completing an animation will get them unstuck again. But when we try to get them to eat or do something else they couldn't figure out, they'll get stuck. So knowing this, we'll reset two more tribe members again, and we can use the flying fish ability to ally the third pink tribe as well. And so far, we've been doing the progression canceling trick each time to prevent us from unlocking more instruments. However, in my experimenting, I found that quitting and reloading the game was also causing the performing tribe members to get stuck when returning to the game. So this time, I wanted to see what would happen if we just allied pink, but allowed the cutscenes to play like normal, without saving and quitting. And whoa, they're all still good. No getting stuck this time. So it must have been doing the save and quit trick itself that was causing them to get stuck after an ally, and not just creating the alliance itself. That'll save us needing to reset so many tribe members. This also allows us access to a full 12-member tribe, but now we also need to buy the rest of the instruments. But that's really interesting that doing the progression canceling trick actually hindered us by making the tribe members get stuck. But thankfully we've collected enough eggs to buy the rest of the instruments, since they're all getting unlocked now. And that'll allow us to ally the next two tribes right away. And that's exactly what we did. Allied Cyan Tribe, then heading straight over to Lavender Tribe to finally complete tribal stage with absolutely nothing on our creature. Doing this again, now understanding how and why the tribe members get stuck would go a lot faster. But we were able to complete tribal stage as the ultimate Pitiful Worm, and now we can move into Civilization stage. Our ultimate Pitiful Worms managed to build an entire city and vehicles. Thankfully, Civilization stage and Space stage don't depend too much on our creatures, so this should all work perfectly. And we crashed. What? Come on, Civ. We aren't even doing anything that crazy anymore. Alright, we've reloaded, and okay good, it worked this time. Phew. And the rest of Civilization stage played just as expected, and even without a mouth, we could still convert the other cities to the one true Pitiful Worm religion. Finishing up Civilization stage and making it into space, and from what I could tell, Space stage also plays just like normal, except we don't have a voice in the comms panel without a mouth. And strangely, our Pitiful Worm doesn't want to appear in the communication box either. There's just nobody home. Our species must only communicate through Braille. Handbooking it to the center of the galaxy, and we reached the Galactic Core after one of the most interesting and difficult playthroughs I've ever attempted. Spore was never intended to play without any parts on our creature, and it sometimes felt like I had to work together with the game and hold Spore's hand for us to make it through together. But we made it to the Galactic Core, and Steve still awards a worm with no parts the Staff of Life. And here's the timeline, starting in Creature stage with absolutely no parts, and we were completely carried by the Summon Flock. And after many deaths, making it into Tribal stage, domesticating some flock creatures for our only food source, but still being able to perform and ally the other tribes. And finally reaching Civilization stage and the center of the galaxy as the ultimate Pitiful Worm. Let me know what you thought of this run, and let me know how else you'd like me to beat Spore even more. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Kingly Valence, and I'll see you next time.